my name's Kirstin Mitchell. I'm a Professor of Social Science and Public Health at the University of Glasgow. So my first interests were in public health, and I always thought I was going to focus on exercise and as a health promotion strategy. But then I met Professor Kay Wellings, and at the time she was leading the British National Survey of Sexual Attitudes and Lifestyles. And just after I finished my master's, she recruited me in and introduced me to that study and really enlivened my interest in sexual health as a topic and got me into the subject. And I worked with her for many years as a junior researcher, and then I did my PhD with her, and I joined the British National Survey of Sexual Attitudes and Lifestyles team, and that's a survey that takes place every 10 years. So really it's been a career-long involvement. But I haven't always been in academia. I spent a few years working for non-government organisations, and I lived for 15 years in Africa as well. So I've had quite an eclectic career, but I've always been interested in sexual health from topics like, I worked on HIV/AIDS when I lived in Africa, and more recently I've moved into topics like sexual well-being, young people's sexual health, and sexual violence as well. And my research tends to span everything from trying to understand problems, so in being involved in surveys. I'm actually a qualitative researcher by background, so what I love doing best is interviewing people like you're doing now. But I also like to think not just about, well, what does this mean? What have we found out? But what can we do about it? So I've spent quite a few years working on interventions as well. So things like school-based interventions, where we go into schools and try and improve sex education or try and tackle gender-based violence. So I was approached by Marianne, and she told me she was putting in this proposal, and I was really interested in the opportunity to make connections with researchers across Europe. It's very easy to get quite focused in on what's happening in your country, but I think there's opportunities for learning really from what other people are doing, some of the challenges they're meeting, and just to connect with people across Europe, particularly for me on national surveys. So one of the things I've really enjoyed about the network is meeting some of the other leads on some of our national sex surveys and understanding some of the challenges that they face, the history of those surveys and what they've been learning, and really just sharing knowledge between us. I think it was really exciting in our meeting today that we had someone from South Africa, and to make those connections and across to Canada as well. I'm really acutely aware that the challenges in Africa are life and death. So when there isn't good provision for abortion, for instance, it can be really a matter of life and death. It's true in all countries, but even more so there. And so what I hope is that if we can have strong networks in Europe, that we can also then reach out to researchers who I know are around and working on these issues in Africa, but often with less resources and support than we have, and less opportunities to connect. So for me, what's really interesting is whether we can create a strong network in Europe, and then we can reach out globally from there. I think that's been an amazing experience to live and work in Africa, and it does bring a different perspective. I think I'm always acutely aware of how lucky we are, particularly in the UK, but actually even just meeting researchers from across Europe, I have become more aware of how lucky we are in Britain, that we have a funded survey that takes place every 10 years. It started with the HIV/AIDS epidemic, and that was the first time in Britain that we were really able to find out what was going on, really, and it was the first ever survey that really understood what Britain was up to in terms of sexual behaviour and sexual health. Our Prime Minister tried to stop it, but the Wellcome Trust came in and funded the survey, and because of that we've had good support for the last 3 decades. And what I'm seeing when I talk to others in the network is that actually they're still struggling to get governments, to get that support, to get that funding. So I think because we've been very lucky in the UK to have this long-standing national survey, and we've learned a lot over the decades, that it's been nice to be able to kind of share that learning with other members of the network.